Greetings, sir and sirettes, and welcome back to From the Depths with me, Lathrix, and of course, welcome to a bit of a weird position. At the moment, there are a couple of enemies right about to attack us, and in the meantime, I have been building. So off camera, I have decided I would like to finally build a vehicle to go away from the fortress. At the moment, it seems like the fortress is more than capable of defending itself, so we need to once again be aggressive in order to get the next resource zone down here. And as such, I thought I should build my own version of the flying/floating present. Essentially a giant blue box which I'm going to add ribbons to and make it look a little bit more festive. But sadly, we are about to be attacked, and before we do, I would just like to show off one of my favourite all-time weapons, which of course is the swarm missiles. As soon as they are fully loaded once again, there we go, and fire! The present will of course also have a couple of torpedoes, making it good against pretty much everything. So let's get into the fight, and as you saw just there, it's actually based off the old Cult Leader hovercraft, which I built very briefly during the Ashes of the Empire campaign. And sadly I can't see the enemy, so let us fast forward until the fight actually starts. Here we are in the fight against one of the smaller snowmen and one of the smaller stockings, so not really anything too vicious, so hopefully this will be over fairly quickly. Sadly, the Cult Leader spawned into the water because it's not classed as an aircraft, which I really need to fix after this fight. I don't think it can actually get above the water from there. But on the upside, lots and lots of very short-range missiles. On the downside, so short-range they're actually out of range. The advanced cannon from the fortress doing most of the damage here. And thankfully the missiles from the enemy are so infrequent it seems like our flare system is working perfectly. Or at least almost perfectly. Naturally, as soon as I say that, a few missiles hit. That's so sad. That poor little Christmas box. One down and one to go. A fairly one-sided battle and a huge explosion there. That one was from the railgun. And it's over. AI dead on both targets, so I'll just go ahead and grab the resource and then get back to working on our little Christmas present. Glory to missiles. One more very cheap little radar dish has now been created, so from now on, we can at least see the enemies heading towards us. Okay, maybe I should have made this a little bit more spread out weight-wise, because that is really, really jiggly. Although, to be honest, it doesn't really matter all that much if it does jiggle or not, just if it goes up, then all is well. Look at it jiggle. Now the battle's over and the satellite is in the air, it's time to get back to working on my present. So right now, the idea is I'm going to have several of these gifts, each of them having a different weapon and each of them having a different colour scheme. And of course making them a little bit prettier, adding a ribbon to the top, and just making them look a little bit more gift-like. So the first one, as we can already see, is a spam missile vehicle, which of course has 70 missiles which are very, very short range, but certainly pack enough of a punch. And of course they also have flares, because flares are just pretty. There we are. The second one will be an advanced cannon, most likely something like the Bloodletter, and the third one will be a cram cannon. And if it's easy enough to do, I will also have one which is steam-powered, which will use a particle cannon. So that way, we have some variance, it's nice and colourful, it's all themed, and I get to make floating blocks. Which, honestly, not as easy as it sounds, because of the lack of any aerodynamicness about them, and yes, that is now a word in my head, the drag is awful, and these things have a real tough time not toppling every time they try to turn around. So, I'll be back in a second once I've made a bit more progress on making my little floating cuboid. About 2 minutes later, and now almost all of the basic systems are completely functional on the blue box. However, there is something currently attacking us. So against us, we have the Lego Brick XL. I am not even going to try and pronounce that, the Heavy Weapon Snowman and the Heavy Weapon Snowman, in addition to a small present. And I think that our lovely box of missiles should be functional, at least enough for this battle. So let's get him in the group as well. Let's put that nice and close, and let's see if we can get all of this to actually work. Well, that is absolutely adorable. So this is the enemy we haven't seen before. And of course, these are the heavy weapon snowmen, the really, really scary things with the fragment cannons. Now, this adorable little vehicle, which I think might be a hovercraft, I have no idea what weapons this uses. It has nothing on the outside. For its size, though, I can only imagine either missile launcher or perhaps a very small advanced cannon. I don't know. Aha! I see missiles. I see missiles or something. Okay, then, just continue the fight.
Taking control.
Go forth, Blue Gift. Wow, so much lag straight away. What has just happened? Oh, it's the internal explosion of the Lego block. Okay, oh yeah, because it has so many advanced cannons, I imagine inside here is very, very explosive. Still though, 5 FPS right now. I'm not even going to look at the fortress because those frag shells are an absolute nightmare. The blue box is going down again by the looks of things. I think it's been hit by a few missiles. Oh no, it's not. It's just very, very low in the air. Missiles and advanced cannon spam. It is kind of glorious. Torpedoes in the water from the blue box. Or the blue gift. The blue thing. For people who don't like missiles, I apologize. For people like me who love them, that was a beautiful battle. Well done, Blue Gift. You did a thing. Something just hit the back of the blue box, and I'm not quite sure what it was. Are those missiles from the enemy? Oh, let's have a quick look, just to make sure I do actually have identify friend or foe on this thing. At this moment, Lathrix realises he has no idea how to make a ribbon out of the blocks provided. Like really, no idea at all. Right now, I've made this weird cylinder thing. Not really a ribbon. That isn't good. So, first finished attempt honestly looks more like rabbit ears or perhaps a couple of snail eyes. Not all that convincing. It looks better from a distance. Let's say that. Look how lovely that present looks, as long as you don't get really, really close and realise, no, that's not what that type of ribbon should look like. Not a bad first attempt. Kinda. Maybe. The enemy really are not leaving us alone anymore. Considering how long it took for them to eventually attack us, it's amazing how often they are now attacking us. I'm also really happy that we very quickly figured out that these enemies are actually quite vicious, and going down the fair route definitely wouldn't have played well for us. So against us we have the Christmas present, the North Star, the Lego Brick XL and the Santa's Slaying Team versus the Blue Gift and my lovely fortress. Lots of missiles, essentially. Torpedoes are down, and there go the missiles. Saying torpedoes very weirdly there, and we are detonating. Oh dear. Like I said before, I kind of built this so if it does take a good hit, it simply explodes, and this is what it's going to look like. It should keep on exploding in a wave, like that. So to have that effect, what you do is you get ammo barrels and then you separate them by 2 bars of metal, and then the explosion takes a second to affect the next one, and so on and so forth, leading to that lovely explosion, which honestly is very, very satisfying. I will have to look at what just happened though. I'm not sure if that was internal damage from its own missiles, or it was from the enemy shot. It was quite hard to tell, because of course the Lego Brick XL was exploding with so much lag in the background. Those main guns are so vicious on the fortress. And look, the shields are actually working now. Excellent. I lowered how much power the railguns are taking up. Just about in range. And there goes the present. The next time I build a ship, I am definitely going to try and get a mobile version of that cannon. Victory for us! How's the present doing? Not looking all that good, honestly. So, I'll be back in a second. I'm going to have a quick look-see at that bit of footage to see what really happened to the gift. Okay, after looking back at the footage, it really looks like the present killed itself. It couldn't have been the enemy green shells, the frag shells, because they had not yet reached the gift. So, which one of you weirdly exploded? Let's find out. I'm going to fire the weapon and see if it kills itself again. Oh! Yep, one of the missiles just detonated there. Okay. Why? Oh, is it because of this? Oh. Oh, I can clearly see what's happening. Okay, I'm going to do some fixing. This should work now. Okay, missiles aren't being caught, no internal explosions, all of them are going straight up, or at least with a slight angle. Okay, that works perfectly. The present, once again, is now working. So this is becoming a remarkably difficult build. It should be incredibly simple. Build a floating box which shoots missiles. Missiles being easily the easiest of weapon types. And honestly, hovercraft, once you get to know how they work, really isn't too difficult, even when you're building something just as flat as this. But regardless of that, it keeps on messing up. Okay, move.
And fly with fleet.
Turning's fine, stabilization is good. Where are you actually going is a good question. Yeah, that's fine. A little bit wobbly, but that's to be expected when you have so much turning power. I could make that a lot smoother, but for now... Good, it is definitely working. Do I want this to be faster, though? I could make this faster, but then that would increase the drag, and that would make this really unstable, considering the front is essentially a barn door. I don't know. Okay, back in a second once I've figured out how we're going to keep on improving this, and then I can use this as a blueprint to spawn in various weapon types and different versions, because this is not going to be the only version. It's also a flag. This may look a little bit like a derpy face with rabbit ears, but I assure you, this is a very nasty missile system. Even if it is looking derpier every moment I'm looking at this weird vehicle. So on the front now, we have a series of cruise missiles, which all have 6 warheads, making them very, very nasty indeed. And as always, they are going to be using the flares to make them look a little bit prettier, and to add a little bit of variety to what is essentially a specialised missile vehicle. We are using the laser designators just to make sure we can aim at enemies even if they are using flares to distract our regular radar-seeking missiles. Whilst I try and think of a few more things to do with our little present over there, I think I have decided what we're going to do with the very top of the fortress. Now, of course, originally, this was where Santa Scarbrand sat and commanded our Christmas forces, but I think it would be better spent on something a little bit more boring, but certainly a lot more practical, and something I've actually got absolutely no experience with, so this is the Anti-Missile Cannon Controller, the AMCC. The idea is, if you use explosive shells whilst using this type of the local weapon controller, it will act very much in the same way as the anti-missile laser systems, in that the turret will actively try to shoot down missiles. If you're using explosive or flak, you then simply add a timed fuse and a laser targeter, and then the shells explode where they think the missile's going to be, and hopefully shoot it down. Like I say though, I have absolutely no experience with this, so I could very well make one of the worst anti-missile weapons in the history of anti-missile weapons. So what I may do, for the first time in this campaign, is go to the Sandbox Mode and have a quick little test to make sure this works. Also, is that an enemy in the distance, or am I going mad? I would say that's an enemy in the distance heading towards us. So maybe I'll work on this after the fight. I keep forgetting I have a satellite now, so let's have a quick look-see at the enemy. That is a lot of enemies. We have the Spirit of Giving, we have the Stockmus, we have the Stockmus, we have the Stockmus, and we have the Stockmus. Now, thankfully, I know for a fact those are not that powerful. They do indeed use missiles, but not all that much else. Ooh, do I have enough time to build a quick turret? I think I will do, but I've got to be quick. Okay, so I'll be back in a second with a very basic turret sorted, most likely just using a belt-fed loader. Well, apparently the anti-missile cannon controller has a lot of stuff to mess around with, so like I was saying before, I have no idea how these things work. I have never built one in the past, and this looks a little bit more complicated than I originally thought it was going to be. So this is all the default stuff. Is there anything we should really mess around with here? Acceptable shots. The number of shells fired at a missile before we lower the priority. Well, that makes sense, especially since there is some time in the air before the shell actually hits the target, so that would be a good way of not wasting ammo. Okay, for now, we're leaving that as it is, and I'm going back to building this very, very, very weird-looking cannon. I don't even know what type of shell to build. I think it would be best to most likely go with flak, purely because flak has the most natural large explosion radius. The problem, of course, is that flak is also a lot weaker than standard HE warheads, so I don't know if this amount of damage is good enough. I really don't. It's going to be a lot of trial and error here. Perhaps this will work really well, perhaps it will be terrible. There we are. It's going to be at 100mm. That's a somewhat decent speed. Yeah, okay, let's go with that, and let's finish off that turret. And so the battle begins. Okay, let's bring in our gift as well, and let's put it somewhere over... Actually, no, let's put it over here, just to make sure the missiles will go past our fortress. Really hoping that turret does well. But I'm not going to be holding my breath for it. Well, the battle has officially begun, with lots of missiles from both sides. The turret hasn't yet activated, it still hasn't activated, and clearly something's gone wrong. Why is that turret not firing? I'm not holding on to it, and let's have a quick look-see. Controlling one weapon. There it goes, finally. And it's working! It is working! 3 of those missiles just got took out. Maybe I need to make it so it's less restrictive. The gift seems to be working well in addition to this, although it is about to go in front of our missile stream. Not really what I'd like to see there. And all is good. The enemy does have a smoke dispenser, which is messing up our lasers. But thankfully, the rest of the missiles don't use lasers. And the battle is finished with the blue gift not only surviving, but actually doing pretty well. So, a few problems there with our little anti-missile cannon. Definitely need to work on that to make sure it works in the future, and probably something I'll work on off-camera in the Sandbox Mode. But for now, I'm afraid I am actually all out of time for today's episode. If you have enjoyed, then of course, likes, favourites, shares, comments, all that good stuff helps out me, helps out the channel, and most importantly, shows that From the Depths is a series you would like to see continued in the future. So now I'm going to go off into the Sandbox Mode, and I'm going to figure out exactly how these things work. Thank you again for watching, and goodbye. More presents in the future. Okay, I think I have indeed found out why this gun wasn't firing almost ever. The range below which we will engage, 100 meters. That's it. So unless a missile got within 100 meters, this cannon simply wasn't firing, which honestly isn't that good. I mean, 100 meters is very, very close. If it's a frag missile, the fragments are going to hurt the craft within 100 meters, even if it does get detonated, not exactly on the vehicle itself. So, I'm going to up that to about 1,000. There we go, which apparently is the maximum. What else do I need to change here? The rest of the stuff I will need to mess around with off camera, like I say. So once again, thank you for watching. Just going to add this clip at the end of the video, but I do feel like that may have been the main aspect. And the rest, I'm just going to need to look at properly.